There we are. Recording started. Welcome to the Sausage Report. Squirrel Report.
Sausage Fest 2021.
Sausage Fest. So Brita has decided she's taking the night off. So Alan and I are using this opportunity to all car talk.
Yeah, you can go ahead and press that quit button right now.
You just delete. Bye. You're not interested. Well, nuts to you, but
it'll be fine.
We figure we'll get it all out of the way so we won't bore Brita to death the next time she's on.
That's right.
We start getting into cars. And I get a couple of pet things, or at least a couple.
Oh yeah.
I don't know about Alan, but I've been seeing a lot. We want to jump right into it.
Sure.
I'll start off with my big pet peeve.
Yeah.
One of my many big pet peeves, automotive wise, is the Ford E-Mach, the electronic Mustang. It so thoroughly enrages me that they're piggybacking on the Mustang name. If it was the same exact body with an electric motor, that's cool. I love that.
But it's not.
It's not. It's a fucking SUV. It's a goddamn Flex. So call it the E-Flex.
They did the same thing with the Bronco. They made the stupid little baby Bronco and called it
the Bronco 2. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, but they did it with they've done this with the fucking Mustang. Back in the 70s, it was fucking Bobcat based, whatever the fuck that little shitbox was.
It was awful. It was embarrassing.
We're gonna put a 4-cylinder in it. It's not gonna be able to get out of its own way, and it's going to rust while it's being unloaded from to the showroom.
I also think it's funny that Ford can't even produce a fucking vehicle right now. And yet,
is it just Ford though?
No, it's everybody. But I'm just saying, Ford can't produce a fucking vehicle, and then they announce this abortion of a thing called a Maverick.
Thank you. It's like what? It's not like it was like one of their. It was like the Galaxy,
right?
The Ford Galaxy, that was a big car, was popular, was a convertible. Just
this is a great car.
The Maverick, it was like, huh?
The Maverick was dumb. They should have killed that name and come up with something else.
It was a very forgettable name from a forgettable time.
Yeah,
it was the latter part of the 70s when they were choking everything with emissions, and in the days when the Chevrolet Corvette put out 180 horsepower. And I'll remind our viewers that the RAV4 that both Brita and I own makes 175 horsepower.
My 14-year-old Jeep makes 200 horsepower.
right. And just the smog choked. When a Corvette makes 5 horsepower more than a Toyota RAV4.
It's awful.
I
think they they came out with this Maverick. I think they should have called it the Ranchero. It's a 4-door Ranchero. That's what it is.
Guys, come on.
Ranchero is a great name.
It's a car with a little truck back.
Which is what it is. It's a 4-door car with a truck back.
Yeah. The only difference between that and the spate of them that we had in the 1980s is they're 4 doors now. Everyone's like, oh, look, it's so new and exciting. And I'm like, Volkswagen had a pickup based on the Rabbit.
Yep.
Dodge had the Rampage, which was a fucking Omni. Or not an Omni. It was the abortion of a Charger. They're all guilty of it, folks.
Right.
Dodge had the Charger, the General Lee, the 440 cubic inch or the 426 racing motor in the Charger. This epitome of early 1970s muscle cars. They brought it back in the 80s. They put in this little anemic front-wheel drive 4-cylinder with a shitty 3-speed automatic. And they're like, we'll call it the Charger. Not to be outdone, Chevy's like, hold our beer. We're going to reintroduce the Nova.
Oh, God.
The car they couldn't sell in Mexico because the name says it doesn't go.
Right.
And they brought it back with, I believe, it was actually a Toyota Corolla, which actually was pretty smart because you could pay a lot less for it because it's a fucking shitty Chevy, but it's Toyota running gear. Or the very worst that GM ever did was bringing back the Le Mans. The
Oh
Le
my God.
Mans, early 70s. It was the poor man's muscle car. It wasn't a
Yep.
GTO. It wasn't
Yep.
that trim level, but you could still get you'd still get a big block 400, pretty fast.
Yep.
They brought it back in the 80s. It was a Daewoo. It was a really shitty Korean car.
Yeah.
And they just put Le Mans, and they look like an egg covered in rust because that's what they did. But they all do it. And nobody learns.
I know.
We're gonna. But the best part is everyone's like, "You just hate electric cars."
No, I don't.
There are several different facets to this. One is, if you want an electric Mustang, make an electric Mustang.
Yes, actually, that'd be pretty awesome. I bet they'd sell the shit out of an actual Mustang with an electric motor in it.
Muscle cars and supercars, realistically, are best suited for electric engines. You get all the torque, all the power right up, and they don't get driven as much as commuter cars.
Right. So, they're certainly not driven cross country, so it doesn't make a difference.
Exactly. Nobody is driving, certainly not a Ferrari or a Porsche 1,000 miles.
Right.
It's a fun little car. You zip around town. Maybe you bring it to the track, which you could still do as an electric.
Oh yeah.
And there'd be I would have zero problems with the E-Mustang if it were the same body with an electric motor.
Same body with electric motor. You could have a 0 to 60 in 2 seconds Mustang.
Just zoom.
Yeah.
It would be
easily. It could be all-wheel drive.
Yep. 4 motors, one on each wheel.
Yeah.
And
it would sell like crazy.
Instead, it's puzzling. Why did you need to make it a smallish, mid-size SUV? What is this? Is this the Chevy Corvette van from the 70s? The little Hot Wheels car?
Yeah.
With Corvette in front.
Yeah. I think there may be something to that. They may be catering to the school, mom wagon market.
But they've got so much of that anyway. I mean, they dropped all other passenger cars from their lineup. It's like, guys, the Mustang was the only car you had left. And you had to bastardize it.
They still make it. I mean,
yeah, true. But it's just.
Well, something else that's dumb is the Ford, the electric F-150. What the hell? And they talk about I don't understand it, because they've got with the bigger battery that costs more, you can go 300 miles with an empty truck.
Yes, downhill with no wind when you're not using air conditioning or heat. Right,
and when it's warm outside. I mean, who buys a truck and then doesn't load anything with it or tow anything with it? I mean, it's going to be
well. Actually, Alan, a lot of people. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, okay, maybe, but
there's a lot of people that have pickup trucks.
But they're talking about a fleet version of that. I mean,
yeah, I'm trying to figure out why, because fleet trucks get used and abused and used hard.
Yeah,
and you're not going to get 300 miles.
I think the big sell on the fleet is going to be maintenance.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the whole thing. Everyone's like, "Oh, you don't like it. You must hate electric cars." I'm like, I would love to have an electric car. I made the comment. I mean, first of all, for the number of times I've cracked the hood on my Toyota, it might as well be electric. It might be electric. I don't know.
That's because it's a Toyota
for shits and giggles. But
the gas runs a little generator.
Yeah, it's just for the generator. It's for the gerbils. But I haven't taken any long trips in it. I've owned it for 6 years. It has gone to West Virginia. That is the furthest it's made it from my house. I could have had it for 6 years as an electric. Now, first of all, I can't afford an electric car, but that's something that'll change in time. But there's no reason that we couldn't have. Eventually.
The price of lithium keeps going up.
Well, no, because regular car prices are going through the roof. So eventually they'll catch up to electric. that and I keep coming back to California can't keep the lights on now. Adding a couple million automobiles that need to be charged up.
Somebody did the math on that, and it was like we'd have to start building a nuclear plant every 3 weeks from now till 2035, to be able to supply enough electricity to charge every electric car they want to have on the road.
And they don't want to build nuclear power plants.
Right. And it absolutely won't be filled by solar or wind or anything like that. It's just not going to happen.
They're decent backups. They're decent auxiliaries. If you've got the space and whatnot, and you want, okay, go nuts, but don't count on it. I'm explaining this to someone in Texas. I don't think you need the object lesson. But we'll going back to electrics. I don't think it was one of the manufacturers. It was I think it was one of the companies that made batteries. Maybe I can't remember where I saw it, but they were like, we're only 7 years away from no fossil fuels, because they're phasing out the last coal-fired electricity plants and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I was like, really? You're no longer going to use any plastics in the creation of your vehicles? Because guess what? Those are petroleum products.
They're going to go back to leather and steel.
Like old school. Wood.
That's right.
The frame will be wood. Your door
wood, leather, and
will
steel.
Be wood.
Leather straps. You see the old Model Ts with the window, the window lowering thing was a strap.
Oh yeah.
That you would pull out and then latch down, and that was what kept the window up. And when you wanted to lower it, you unhook the leather strap.
That's going to be your tire. It's going to be a whole wood with a bunch of spokes.
Yeah. Welcome to 2035, people.
It's
Yeah, rant.
Well, it's just preying on ignorance. I'm sure there's some making that are making we'll be fossil fuel free, that they don't know, but they can't all be that ignorant. Every single one of them cannot be that completely naive and unaware that fossil fuels, petroleum, is more than the gas that goes in your tank.
Oh, sure.
It's like I'm sitting in my office here, and there's an awful lot of plastic.
Well, also the thing that makes the plastic so expensive is it's a byproduct of the oil industry. If you had to produce oil and not use it for vehicle, not turn it into gasoline, your plastics would cost a whole lot more.
They'd be almost as pricey as plywood.
Right. They'd be super expensive because they wouldn't, they're a byproduct of the gasoline, production process.
Ugh.
If you didn't have that, your plastic trinkets would cost crazy.
If they had to make the plastic from petroleum that they extracted purely for the purpose of making plastic,
right?
It's going to get pricier. It's all and how long have cars run on gasoline? Since
Forever.
There were cars,
right?
The only, we took the lead out of our gasoline in the 70s, 80s, right around the fuel crisis, blah 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 blah.
Late 70s.
I still remember some pumps had leaded gasoline.
Yeah.
And I started driving in 1987. So, there were some, at least up until the 80s, there were some pumps, but that was literally just taking an additive out and kind of re-engineering the engine so that they would run on gasoline that did not include lead.
Right.
You're not talking about, we're going to completely change what powers your automobile, which is going to, that's going to literally change how electricity is generated, how it is distributed. I was thinking about that. And I started doing the math because I'm a dork like that. Okay. I travel, we live in Virginia and we have family in New England, and we go to visit them a couple times a year. It's a 500-mile trip. Now, I'm not even getting into this for the electric car aspect. What I'm getting into is Interstate 95, Eastern Seaboard. It's, busy road.
Yep.
pull into the rest areas in New Jersey. On a moderate day, you're going to have maybe 20 pumps, 5 to 7 cars deep at any given time. I mean, yes, 10 o'clock at night, there's not going to be a lot of cars. But on an average day with average traffic, you're talking about 100 cars at a time. You figure that each car fills up. Let's say each car pulls in, it's on fumes, and it's going to fill the tank completely. It takes 10 minutes.
Yep.
So that means in 1 hour, that's 6 rotations. That's 600 cars if you're only talking 5 deep. So that means in 2 hours, which is how long it takes to rapid fill an electric car, that's 1,200 cars. You have to have 1,200 filling stations, at least 1,200. Over 1,000. Over 1,000 filling stations, because each car that pulls in is going to sit there for 2 hours.
Yep.
So that's the kind of traffic flow you're going to have. What's 1,000 car lot look like?
Well, also, what's the cost structure of that electric filling station?
Right.
Like the movie theater, gas stations don't make a whole lot of money off of gas. They make their money off the other crap they sell while you're filling up. So the car that sits there for 2 hours, what are those people going to do for 2 hours?
That's how you save the movie industry, the movie theater industry. Every one of those filling stations could have a drive-in. So while your car's filling up, you can just sit and watch a movie because you're going to be there for a while.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You look at
not going anywhere.
Here's the interesting thing. I did my research. I looked up on Tesla's website on how long it takes to fill the battery. They won't tell you.
No, because they don't know.
And
it depends.
If you buy their charger, it depends on a lot of factors. If you buy their charger, there are no statistics on if you just plug it into the wall. It's like days, if not weeks. So you have to buy their charger.
If you plug it into like a 110 outlet or something like that, you're looking at days.
Yeah. The fastest charge, like if you have the best electrical system and you buy the top of the line charger and you have the car with the smallest battery, it's you get 44 miles for every 30 minutes of charge. It was something. It works out to it worked. God, I forgot already, but it basically worked out that you have to charge your car basically 7 or 8 hours. It's an overnight.
Yeah, overnight. Right.
Which, again, that's not a big deal if you're doing it every day, every other day, whatever it is. If you, I've got
the office commute kind of thing.
Right. I've got a 40-mile round trip commute. If my car's got a 200-mile range, I might do it twice a week.
Right.
And that's totally fine. That's great. That's wonderful. But again, you get into that. What happens when I want to visit my parents? Right. I've got a 500-mile trip. Now my car's 200-mile range means I have to stop twice.
You actually have to stop more than that.
Well, yes. You're now you're bringing in the real world, Alan. Come on, that has no place in this discussion of electric vehicles.
Yeah, if you look at how they do the mapping, on Tesla, you never get a full charge. You get enough charge to make it to the next charging station.
Well, the big thing was it only takes 30 minutes to get you to 80%.
Right.
The problem is what they don't tell you is it's another 30 minutes to get you to 90. And then 30 minutes or more to get you up to 100.
Right. You almost never get to 100%. It's always.
And as we know with our phones, 80% is like 30%. Because once your phone gets below 80%, it's like 80, 60, 40, 10.
Right. And you don't want to drop below that 20%. So you got 20 to 80%. So you got about, you got a battery that you can use about half the charge on.
Right. And those are really like, you're coming back from a trip and you just need to get the last 20, 30 miles home.
Right.
You know, so you do that quick charge, half an hour. But even then, half an hour.
Yep.
You can fill up your F-150 in 10 minutes.
Oh, less than that.
Well, assuming you roll in on fumes.
Right.
And you top it off, 10 minutes tops.
Yeah.
Now you're telling me that people are going to just magically accept I'm going to have to sit at a charger for at least a half an hour. I mean, you're talking a bare minimum. Half an hour will get you home if home is close.
Yeah, I think that there'll be more. I think the all electric vehicles will have their place. I think as commuter vehicles, but I think the hybrids are going to be more useful. Yeah. In fact, I think hybrids are great technology. I ordered a hybrid truck. The EPA specs on the hybrid F-150 are 24 miles a gallon city and 24 miles a gallon highway.
That's amazing for now. Is that the V6 or is that
that's the turbo V6?
The EcoBoost, whatever the heck they call it. That's a good engine. It
is a good engine.
It's an impressive engine.
But
you're not towing a 9 million pound Airstream, so
right. But towing your mileage goes to shit just like everyone else. But the thing is they get that by using the electric motor to assist on starts and stops and stuff like that, which is what gasoline engines are horrible at. Yep. So you use the gasoline engine for your top end cruising, and you use the electric motor for starting.
Right.
It's a great system.
Rolling in traffic and
right.
When the motor's just idling and just burning everything.
The engine's actually off for that.
And I don't understand why we're seeing this huge push so quick. It's the Prius itself has only been around for a little over 20 years.
Yeah, it's political.
And
so the other thing is about the time that you pay off that electric vehicle, your battery pack's going to need to be replaced. So what is the used market for electric vehicles going to look like?
Electric vehicles there won't be a used market.
Yeah, they're going to be worth nothing.
Well,
because it'd be like having to buy a new engine.
Right.
With a used car. Oh, you want it? Used car. Here's your used car, but you got to buy a whole new engine. Yeah, I don't think so.
And I mean, I still use, the example when I first moved down to Virginia, we have a small lot. It's less than a quarter of an acre. It's push mower, easily push mower. And I bought an electric lawnmower with a rechargeable battery rather than a cord that I would run over because I got a plug-in hedge trimmer and I cut through the cord and I had to put a new GFI plug in my house because I'm an idiot. But for the first couple of years, the mower was great. It was wonderful. Charge it up overnight. That's the other thing you got to remember. You can't just get home from work and the sun's shining and it's beautiful. Oh, I'll mow the lawn. No. Because it's like, well, no, I got to make sure the mower's plugged in. But that's okay. Little planning.
You got to prepare ahead of time.
Little planning. With the battery on full charge, I could do my entire lawn with using the bagger, for about 3 years. And then on the fourth year, it started off, I could do most of the lawn. I'd wind up with like a big mohawk in the backyard that I'd have to plug it in. But by the end of the fourth summer, I'd do the front and the side yard, and I'd have to stop and plug it in overnight to do the backyard in 4 years.
Yeah.
In just 4 years. And that was with, new blades, sharpening the blade, keeping it running the way it's supposed to.
And that's mowing like once a week. So your charge cycle.
Yep. It's very, very regular.
Right.
Because that was the other thing. The rechargeable mower didn't have the power to cut tall grass.
If you were recharging it every day, your battery, you wouldn't have got the 4 years. You'd have got it'd be like your cell phone. after a year, so you get a cell phone, it lasts all day. The first year it lasts all day.
Yep.
The second year it lasts most of the day, right? By the time evening rolls around, you're hitting that, you're in low power mode.
Yep.
By the third year, you're like half the day at noon, you're like recharging it.
and your brightness is like level 1.
Right. And it's going to be the same way with electric cars, right? I mean, I don't
start
know.
off.
You've got, you get, the however many miles it says on a good day when it's not freezing outside. You don't have to use the air conditioner and you don't have to use the heater.
And you drive it very conservatively.
Right. You recharge it like twice a week.
And that's fine. And maybe you get 10 years out of that, and that'd be great. I think we'll get there. I don't think we're going to get there by dumping it on people and saying, okay, boom, live with this. Because we're so contrary. We'll be like, no, we're going to have like giant V8 engines just as a just a generic what the hell is the oppositional defiance to this? It's going to be like, nope, that's it. I'm making the biggest.
Screw you.
I'm getting.
I want a V12.
I'm getting a pick. I'm resurrecting the Dodge V10 with an 18-inch lift and 43-inch tires.
Yeah.
And I'm going to run it in 4-wheel drive all the time with the air conditioning on and the e-brake. But everyone's like, oh, won't it be great? Oh, I'll bet with the gas crisis, you wish you had an electric vehicle. Oh, well, I wish I could afford an electric vehicle. And if you think the gas crisis is bad now, wait until you can't run your air conditioner because, we're out of electricity because everyone recharged their car last night.
The other thing they don't talk about is the electric cars are real popular in California, where you really don't need a heater or an air conditioner. What about the rest of the country?
Yeah. What about Minnesota?
Yeah.
What's the electric car situation in Fargo?
Or anywhere in the South where you have to have an air conditioner pretty much all the time, all year round.
We're at the northern end of the South, and it's pretty damn hot. You get into like Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and that whole section, you're running your air conditioner pretty much year round.
There's a month maybe where you don't need your air conditioner. January, maybe.
And it's not like the heater. Well, here's another question. Your car, your gasoline-powered car, your heater cheats because it takes some of the excess heat off of the engine.
Right.
That's not going to happen in your electric car. So now it has to generate that heat.
You need that. You got a resistive heater that runs off the battery.
Now, you probably don't know, Alan, because you probably don't have electric heaters. I do. I know that if I'm on the treadmill and my wife turns on the electric heater, we blow circuit breakers because they use a lot of power.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So if you're in, I hate to pick on them, but Minnesota in February.
Yep.
And it's minus 20. What's that? What's your mileage going to be?
0. Maybe the batteries don't run when they're frozen. I mean, what's the?
Well, here's okay. As someone from New England who remembers the blizzard of '78, where we got so much snow so quickly, people abandoned their cars on the highway.
Right.
There were images of the high. I mean, I guess it happened here in Virginia about maybe 10 years ago. They had just a freak snowstorm, like 3 feet of snow, and they just abandoned their cars.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
Now, what happens 2 days later, whatever, when they clear things out? Do electric cars, and I honestly don't know the answer to this. Are they going to keep the charge? If your electric car gets stuck in the snow and you shut it off, and it's in, minus 5 degree weather, Is that battery going to hold its charge, or is it going to die?
I bet a lot of them die.
And now you've got a whole, even if only every 10th car dies, you've got 1,000 cars out on a freeway.
Because the thing is, I'm not sure you can actually fully power off an electric car. It's like they're always on, right? I mean, there's always something on it.
I would imagine, that they're.
So then you got a highway,
some sort of drain.
You got a highway full of electric cars that you have to go by and somehow charge.
Each one of them has to be charged for 2 hours.
Right.
Or you've got a whole bunch of gasoline-powered tow trucks yanking them out.
Yeah.
It's just these things that nobody's come up with an answer. And I don't even think people are asking these questions.
No, they're not.
We know they're not. We just saw Oregon come out with this, there's not going to be any diesel allowed in 5 years. How are you going to
really?
Go freight?
Yeah, how are the 18-wheelers going to fuel up?
18-wheelers? How about the container trucks?
Yeah.
The container ships that pull up to the, port,
how about
Portland.
How about the diesel locomotives that
even if it's just that we're not going to have any diesel fuel, there's not going to be any diesel filling stations or any of that.
Right.
I don't know of any 18-wheelers that can go the entire length of Oregon on one tank.
No, those things suck. They have what is it? They have basically like 2 50-gallon drums of diesel strapped underneath them.
Right.
Is their fuel tank, I think, give or take. And they go through that pretty damn quick.
Yeah. They don't get 30 miles to the gallon.
No, they don't.
So you're not going to have, they're not going to develop these massive trucks just to get through Oregon.
I wonder, you always hear about like the electric car, like towing a generator. I wonder how much of a generator it would take to make that happen.
I think the military had some.
Well, because I was thinking about like the electric trucks that are coming along,
If they put a gasoline engine in the back just to power the batteries.
Well, what I was thinking, if you've seen the Ford electric truck, the front is basically a trunk.
Yeah. So you could put an engine in there,
and it holds it has like a 400-pound capacity or something like that. So, I'm thinking, you put a 7-kilowatt generator up there.
You put an engine. Yeah. What is this? Like, yo, dog, I heard you like engines, so I put an engine in your engine.
Yeah, but it'd power your electric car, your electric.
Well, that's a hybrid.
Yeah.
You've just created a different type of hybrid.
Or you get your Tesla, right? You want to drive your Tesla down the highway. You tow a generator behind you in a little pod.
You just get one of the ones like they put in RVs. You put that in the trunk. Just have a little pipe coming out of the top. So you can roll coal in your Tesla.
I don't know. I don't know what the voltage requirement is for a constant charge. I
imagine it's pretty. If you want to keep the vehicle moving, it's going to be
right. That's what I'm wondering. You're talking about however much power the full powered, because if the supercharger thing can charge a Tesla in 2 hours, right? That's a couple hours of driving, couple hours of charging, right?
Right.
I mean, that's how that works out. So you would need that sort of power equivalent to keep a steady charge going.
You need more if the car's moving, because the batteries are just charging while they're charging.
But if you think about it, you charge 2 hours and you drive 2 hours, give or take, right? So that's basically a 1-to-1, right? So if you've got the equivalent of however much power a supercharger provides,
what we can do, Alan? All those big container ships that like deliver goods across the ocean will put something to collect wind power. This is revolutionary. Nobody's ever thought of this before.
Giant windmills.
Something really big to catch
an electric container ship powered by windmills.
Powered by windmills. No one has ever powered a ship
solar.
with wind.
And solar. You put solar cells across the
solar
top.
Panels everywhere. Yeah, because my favorite are the people who are like, I know, let's make the roads into solar panels. Why?
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Yes, because roads never take any abuse.
There's a guy that does a YouTube channel where he talks about cars and, you know, gets a lot of involved in math and stuff, engineering explained, I think it is something like that. But he does a lot of like math. He deals with like rolling friction coefficients and all kinds of stuff where he tries to explain like the physics behind cars. And he just did one recently on, could your solar powered car, could your electric vehicle be recharged if you if you basically built solar panels on the top? And the answer was no, because it would take like 3 weeks of charging for a day's worth of, for, you know, to power it up enough to drive for a day. So,
yeah. And again, it gets into the whole, you know, global warming / climate change. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have alternative power. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, you know, if you're the type of person that does short trips,
yeah,
an electric car would work for you. If you know, but you know, to say we're going to mandate as soon as you start
that's where you get into trouble.
You know, you just and you know, and we go back to, and I know I've you know, I'm a broken record on this, but Obama, when he changed the CAFE standards, the CAFE regulations in American cars, the fleet had to, you know, basically your entire fleet has to average a certain number,
right?
Not your CAFE standard. And it was for a long time, it was in the mid 20s, mid to upper 20s. And that's pretty attainable. And Barack Obama was like, it was like 2030, the entire fleet average has to be 50 miles per gallon. So that means like for every 20 mile per gallon pickup truck you have,
as in impossible,
you've got to have a 80 mile per gallon something,
right? Which,
you know, it's when they did the first big bump, that's how you got the Geo Metro.
Yep.
Right. And you know, when the Prius first came out, they were like, you could get 50 miles to the gallon. And I'm like, big fucking deal. We did that over a decade ago with the Metro. They could not give them away. They wound up being the fleet vehicle for rental car companies.
Yeah.
If you were cheap or had shitty insurance, you got a Geo fucking Metro.
Right.
They were shit box. They were poorly made.
Yep.
3-cylinder engine, 1,000 cc's, couldn't get out of their own way, but they got 50 miles per gallon on the highway. And we didn't want them. We hated them.
That's because they were awful.
They were just terrible, terrible cars. But Volkswagen, and okay, yeah, I know, they fiddled with the numbers, blah, 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 whatever. In the 90s, their Passat, which is a mid-size vehicle, had a diesel option.
Yep.
With like a
turbo diesel,
a 20-something gallon tank. It got like high 40s per gallon. Had like an 800-mile range.
Yep.
Couldn't give them away because you know why? You can thank General fucking Motors in the late 70s for the shit show job they did making diesel-powered cars, where they slapped diesel heads on gas blocks, and the cars were absolutely fucking horrible. Yep. And I know this because my father, who I love dearly, loved those fucking cars because they were cheap. He had an 81 Buick Regal and an 83 Chevy Caprice, both with the shit fucking piece of garbage diesel engine.
Oh,
and it just, man. I mean, I remember taking road trips in the Regal where we would have to pull over to the side of the road and smack the front of the car to get the headlights back on. I mean, they were poorly made. They knew nobody wanted these cars because they were junk. So you get them. The best thing to do would be to buy one and put a real engine in it. But
that's right.
It's so thoroughly poisoned our perception of diesel-powered automobiles.
Oh yeah.
You had
They sell like crazy in Europe.
Oh, they're insane. I've been watching Top Gear. Now we've had Volkswagen and Mercedes. Those are like literally the only two diesels that have gotten any, pretty consistently through the 80s and 90s. They were accepted as, they're German.
And they sold to people who liked European cars.
Exactly. And, and lived near diesel fuel plants.
Right.
But, diesel was for your pickup trucks that hauled stuff and 18-wheelers. And that was maybe if you were like at a farm, you had a tractor. But
tractors,
sailboats. Yeah, and like if they're talking about, I was watching Top Gear, and Volkswagen has a car smaller than the Golf. I think it was the Polo, and then it was the Up, and it's little. It's
only sold in Europe.
Only sold in Europe. And there's a diesel version that gets close to 80 miles to the gallon.
Yeah, because it's got like a 0.7 liter engine or something.
It's small. It doesn't go fast.
It's
but
teeny.
It's insane. Well, I mean, it's because gasoline is insane. I was watching Fuel Up one day.
It's sold by the liter, and it's like crazy high per liter.
$2 a liter
or more. Yeah,
and there's 4 liters to the gallon, folks. You think it's bad here, but I remember ages and ages ago. We're talking. It was like 2 jobs ago, and we had European salesmen. They came to the plant for some training, and they were just astounded at American motorcycles. They were like, "You have a 1200 cc engine?" Because they're so insanely taxed above, they're taxed per cc basically.
Yeah, they don't make anything. They make these teeny little.
You see 50 cc, 100 cc, 125s, 250. Like you've got a big engine if it's a 500 cc.
Oh yeah.
500 cc here, you're like, oh, that's cute. What's it going to be when it grows up?
That's like a kid's bike.
It's a starter bike. There's a place for them, and there's some that are really well done. But they were just agog. They were like, "You have a 1200 cc motorbike? I've never heard of such a thing. I can't think about how much that must cost." And it's all the gas, and not even get into why we don't have those vehicles here. Why do we not have a small diesel motor car that gets 80 miles to the gallon?
Because nobody wants to buy one.
Well, it's import regs, though.
Right.
It's all.
Well, those vehicles won't pass the U.S. crash safety tests.
Mm-hmm. That's why Citroën doesn't sell here.
Right.
We can't get any of their cars. There's no French cars.
Right.
No matter. I remember.
Well, besides Chrysler.
No, they're Fiat. That's Italian. Fix it again, Tony. Which I still look longingly at the 124, which is just a Miata, but it's got the Fiat badge. I'm like, oh, it calls to me, Guido. It calls to me. But they took a nice Japanese car and made it less reliable. But I want it. Yeah, but it's like if we were serious about reducing our energy footprint, reducing fuel dependency. All of this, let's start bringing some of these cars in.
Yep.
But we don't. We're not serious, and we're not. And you got into the crash test. It's like that's the other end of the equation.
Yeah.
You want to stop automobile deaths? I mean, something like 40, 50,000 people a year die in car crashes. You want to stop that completely? Put a roll cage and a 5-point harness in every car.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
You look at the type of crashes like in NASCAR.
Oh yeah, those 200 mile an hour crashes, and the car flip, and then the dude gets out and walks away, and
he's pissed because he's out of the race.
Right.
I mean, it takes something really, really bizarre like Dale Earnhardt,
right.
And you remember the deaths.
They're also wearing helmets and stuff like that, which is the other thing that saves them because they don't have the head trauma.
Yep.
But again, they get.
If it was really about saving lives, bolting a full roll cage in your car, it's going to reduce your gas mileage. But if it saves one life, You know, it's all about that.
require a roll cage, require a 5-point harness, require everyone to wear a helmet.
Yep.
With the I forget what they call them, but those straps that keep your head from
the collar
bouncing around.
The collar they put on.
Yeah, it just make everybody that gets in a car have one of those.
You know,
problem solved.
You'll
cut traffic deaths down to almost nothing. It'll be insignificant
because nobody will be driving because you have to go through all that bullshit. Just crawling in the windows hard enough. Nobody's willing to back down. Nobody's willing to say we sacrificed mileage for the safety, and now we're sacrificing safety for the mileage.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer is electric. We're just going to give up and say, oh, it has to be electric. And getting into it, I had a good friend who's a master mechanic for Ford. When Ford started making the hybrid vehicles, they had to have representatives from Ford Motor Company come in to show them how to work on the cars because you had to lift them
completely different.
You can't use the jaws of life on them,
right?
Because if you cut through that battery, look out! You've got a fire. You know.
Yeah.
Does anyone bring the what was it the Samsung OneNote? Which phone was it that randomly burst into flames?
Oh yeah.
You know, what happens if you get the car that was made with that battery? You know, and it's like this we've got to rush into things. We
well, it's because the government's deciding, not the market.
Right,
if they let the market decide, then people would get what they want. And eventually, if they wanted a safe car, they get a safe car. If they wanted a high mileage car, they get a high mileage car. And their insurance rate, what they pay for insurance would be based on that, and everybody get what they wanted, they'd be happy instead of this one size fits all dictated by the government.
Right.
Which is always wrong. Right. it's not that it's sometimes wrong. It's always wrong.
It's always wrong. Which, we that'll be our fodder for the next show. But, speaking of always wrong, literally everything you heard, I don't know, the past 4 years was wrong.
Oh yeah.
Because what do we just find out? Trump used tear gas on protesters.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was wrong.
Completely fabricated.
Yep.
Completely fabricated. Had no basis in reality whatsoever.
But trust these people to fuck with your cars.
You ready to get another episode deleted?
Oh no, what now?
News flash. And this is going to be interesting because YouTube says they'll delete you for not following the CDC, what the CDC says.
Which time? When?
I'm reading from the CDC.
So
the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention announced Thursday that it will convene an emergency meeting of its advisors June 18th to discuss rare but higher than expected reports of heart inflammation following doses of mRNA-based Pfizer and Moderna COVID-19 vaccines.
Oops. Oh, well.
Oh, my.
So, yeah. This is from the CDC.
That's right. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying don't go get a vaccine. I'm not saying go get a vaccine.
Right.
If you think you need one, go get one. I'm just saying the CDC is calling an emergency meeting to deal with a side effect from the vaccine.
But
this is YouTube. This is a CDC announcement.
we are spreading this information.
That's right.
For the CDC because that's how we're good little proletariats. So.
Yep.
But yes. Yep. Get back to our original thing, the E-Mustang. It's just dumb. It's dumb.
It is. Well, I don't.
Again, not the vehicle, not the concept.
Yeah,
it's putting them both together.
It's stealing the cachet of the Mustang.
You're trading on the name, and that's
for a thing that is absolutely not a Mustang.
it has no bearing. That's the thing that's puzzling.
Yeah.
Is it has no there's no connection whatsoever.
Right.
It's
Not
like
even body style.
nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a Mustang. There's
Right.
no history. It's not like there was a weird four-door Mustang in the 70s. You
Right.
know, that they just decided, you know, they made it for a year and it was weird.
I think it's what they did because again with the Bronco, they made the Bronco and the Bronco Sport, right?
Yeah.
And their reason, what they claimed was, well, Bronco's a brand, and so we're going to have different kinds of vehicles under that brand. So I guess that's what they did with the Mustang. They made Mustang a brand instead of the name of a particular car, and so now there's two different kinds of Mustangs.
But didn't they already kill a brand? You know, Mercury. Remember them?
Yeah, but nobody wants a Mercury. If people want a Mustang,
Bronco. Yeah,
they want a Mustang. Ooh, it's a Mustang.
No cars though. That's the thing that that's the decision that really I didn't understand.
Because cars don't sell.
Now, I was just going to say, I'm sure that it was a bean counter looking at sales and, you know,
absolutely
our Fusion. Now, okay, first of all, maybe it's because you make shitty fucking cars. Do you ever think about that? A. B, did you just gave the police car market to Dodge and Chevy? Because the Taurus was, you know, interestingly enough, you watch the original RoboCop, 1987 version of Detroit, the Taurus was a police car. And everyone's like, oh, that's ridiculous. The Taurus will never be a police car. And poof, yeah, then it became one. And now it doesn't even exist anymore. And it's all Chargers and I think Impalas now, which is...
I haven't seen those. I see a lot. I see a shitload of Chargers and Expeditions.
And Explorers. Explorer's a big one around here.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently they sell enough of them. You know,
and,
okay, that's great.
Pickup trucks.
Really?
Yep.
I've only seen those for like Rangers and
they do it down here in Texas where they have like the Highway Patrol has some pickup trucks and the constables have some pickup trucks.
Highway Patrol has pickup trucks. Because when I think of, you know, a chase vehicle, I think of a big rear-wheel drive with no weight over the drive wheels.
It's not that they don't use it. It's not, they don't really use it for, it's not the chase vehicles are like the Chargers and stuff like that. I think they even have some Corvettes.
Ooh.
That's Texas Department of Public Safety, Highway Patrol. They got some nice cars. You know, it's funny. I always expected them. You know how they confiscate these fancy cars from the drug dealers and stuff. I always wonder why they don't just use those. You got a Lamborghini, you got a McLaren, you got, you know.
Do you know why, Alan?
Paint it, put some bubblegum lights on top of it.
Because you can't get an oil change for less than the price of a new Crown Vic. Which yes, I know they don't make Crown Vics, but you know, like the Bugatti Veyron, if you need new tires, you have to ship the car to France where they put new tires on for it's like $27,000.
That's insane.
It's like this insane price.
So the car sits in the garage and never gets driven anywhere.
Like I said, it's a Bugatti. If you can afford a Bugatti Veyron, you're not concerned about it. You know, you really, you know, that is not, you know, you've got people to worry about that. You're like, you bring me the Bugatti and it will be ready.
If you can afford one, you can afford a spare for it, and you know, you've got one to drive when the other one's getting repaired. So,
but yeah,
the spare Bugatti,
which again gets into, you know, we've got, and again, I'll preface this by I've been watching Top Gear, and you know, I've been watching it with an eye towards, you know, I find a lot of similarities between the cars they review and the flack they take with, let's just say, a certain other business where there are high-end things and the things that people actually have that I might be involved in. And I note that, you know, they're doing Ferraris and Porsche and this and that and the other thing. And then I caught the big dust up when Clarkson, May, and Hammond left.
Oh.
And Hammond and May were offered $4 million a year to continue on. I mean, I knew they made good money because Jeremy Clarkson bought a Ford GT, and that's not a cheap car.
Right.
You know, and I know Hammond's got Porsches and James May has Ferraris.
Right.
So the rich are still going to have their high-end supercars and Rolls Royces and Bentleys. And we're going to wind up with, what the hell was it? The G Whiz. If you're not a fan of Top Gear and you're not a fan of British cars, the G Whiz was a little tiny, like smaller than the Geo Metro or the Honda Fit electric car. And
we'll have little pods.
Mm-hmm. Little electric,
if we have individual vehicles at all,
right?
There's a good chance we won't. So yeah,
you know, but you get into it, and if I may put on my tinfoil hat for a moment,
absolutely,
the big push on electric cars, and let's say the limits upon which one can travel, realistically, is that maybe to, I don't know, keep us from traveling. You don't have to tell people they can't travel, but if you
make it damned inconvenient,
if you make it really hard for me in Virginia, on me in the East Coast, to visit Alan or Brita, for that matter,
you
still have the right to assemble.
Yeah, just
but if you live in Texas and you want to go to, let's say, I don't know, Washington D.C., and rather than it being, you could probably do it in 2 days if you really, 3 days. Let's say, you guys, what, about 2,000 miles, roughly, maybe 2,500?
No, it's less than that. It's 1,500, something like that.
Okay, so 2 days. That's a tough 2 days.
Yeah.
But you could do it.
Sure.
It's, now
you could do it in one if you had somebody to trade off with.
Yeah. Yeah, 750 miles in a day. That's tough. It's doable. I've done it. It sucks. But you could do it. But now with your car's range at 200 miles and having to stop for 2 hours each time.
Nope.
What's the math look on that? 1,500 mile round trip. That's 7 stops at least. That's an extra 14 hours on top. Now you're talking 3 to 4 days. And that's assuming you find a fast recharge station everywhere you go. That's not, you're stopping at a motel. And, here's another thing. I don't think people have thought about this. Motels, hotels, your Marriott, your Hilton. You're going to have a charging station for every guest.
Yep.
You've got to completely redesign.
Yep.
All of the hospitality. You've got to completely redesign rest areas. You've got to completely. What do you do with all the gas stations? You turn each gas station into a refueling station?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I've got a whole bunch of gas stations near my house, which, guess what? I don't need if I'm plugging my car in when I get home.
That's right.
You have a whole bunch of useless gas stations.
Right.
And you're going to have to completely tear down the entire infrastructure and rebuild it.
Yeah, you're gonna if you got rid of all gasoline cars, which is a big if, because I don't think it's going to happen. But if you did, let's just play with it.
It will eventually.
If you did, no, I don't even think it'll eventually happen. Well, they'll have to if they drastically increase the battery capacity, then yeah. But I think given what it is now, you're still going to need gasoline.
Hey man, I'm holding out for fusion.
But anyway, so say they got rid of all the gasoline cars, everybody started driving electric. You'd get rid of every gas station in the city. Because when you can recharge at home or at your office, you won't need a gas station.
And that right there. You just hit on something at your office.
Right.
Now, every office park is going to have to invest in providing all of these charging stations.
Yep.
And
They
you're
will.
going, and guess what else you have to do? You've got to significantly beef up your security, because otherwise you close down at 5 o'clock. At 6 o'clock, you've got 100 cars parked in your lot charging up. If you don't have gates and guards,
Oh no, they'll have like
I guess you could turn them off, I suppose.
or you could also do um there'll be a credit card or whatever. They won't be just free for whoever wants to use them.
Until people figure out how to hack it, and they will, because they're not going to invest the money to properly lock them down.
Right.
You're going to
But
have
that's
to shut
beside
them
the
off.
point. You're not going to have any gas stations. You're not going to have any charging stations in the city beside like gas stations you have now, because there's no point, right? It's completely worthless. What you'll have like the tow truck operators will carry like emergency generators that can charge up a car. Because your people are going to run out of electricity.
Oh, absolutely. But the thing is,
just like they run out of gas now.
If it's going to take even a half an hour,
that's what they'll do. That'll be a moneymaker for them. They'll pull up. They'll have one of those big, like they have the trucks that have the big welding generators on them now.
Yeah,
it'll be that generator which will it'll charge up if you got a welding generator, that'll power up a electric car easy. And they'll sit there and charge it for 15-20 minutes or whatever just to get you down the road and charge you $100 or whatever.
Yes, I'm still not entirely convinced that swappable batteries aren't part of the equation.
The problem with swappable batteries is it's swappable okay. You got to do you do the swappable propane tank for your grill?
Mm-hmm.
You ever notice sometimes you get a really shitty one?
Oh yeah.
So that's going to be the problem with batteries. You're going to roll in, you're going to have a nice brand new electric car, and you're going to roll into a battery swap station, and you're going to get a 3-year-old battery to replace your brand new one.
The thing is, though, if you need to swap the battery twice a week, you're not going to care. It doesn't matter. It's like you pull in, you swap the battery, and you go. Right. I think that's one of those things that it'll just be. It is what it is. Right. And the other thing too is you're not going to care. They're going to pop the trunk. You're going to lift the little trunk lid. You're going to pull the battery out. You're going to drop a new one in. And you're gone. It's sitting under a carpet in your trunk. You don't care. It could have worms pulling out of it. And you're like, whatever. Just as long as they don't get in the car. You do something. You got to work something like that so you make it super convenient. You pull in. You could theoretically make it faster.
Yeah.
Than gassing up, where you pull in,
if you standardized it, you could have it all done like robotically. You just pull up, the arm comes out, opens the battery door, slides the battery out, slides the new one in, and you're on the road.
I think that's an engineering thing. We're really good at that sort of thing.
It would also let you, if they came up with a better battery technology, it would let you swap out the batteries a lot easier. Right.
And that's something that can be figured out down the road, because you don't need to make the capacity huge.
It won't be. I'll tell you why. Because of where they put the batteries.
Underneath?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They put them underneath in the bottom of the chassis for weight distribution.
Which, as a side note, is why electric supercars are the way to go, because they hug the ground.
Right.
They've got all that extra weight.
They have all that weight down on the bottom.
Well, but that's so what you do is you drive over the battery swap, and it comes up, it pulls the battery out, it puts a new one in. The other thing doing it that way would do is it'd be a lot harder to steal them.
Oh yeah.
If they're underneath the car, if the only access point is under the car. But,
people jack up the car and steal the battery.
They take catalytic converters too. And they've been doing that for years. But I think that these are engineering problems that we can solve as long as we're not given some retardedly stupid, arbitrary date by which we have to have everything swapped over.
Right.
And that's what happens when you involve the heavy-handed government. It's like, boom, there, we're just going to mandate that it be this, even though everyone's like, that's not possible. We do not have any of that technology. Again.
Now I want to get an electric car and tow a generator behind it just to piss everyone off.
But it's again, like I said, I go back to the global warming. There's nothing wrong with recycling stuff. There's nothing wrong with.
Lost Jay. Jay overranted and blew out of the stream. That was funny. He's coming back on. There he is.
That was really weird. It just went dead.
You ranted so much you blew yourself out of the stream.
Apparently, just I completely lost where I was going
funny.
with that. Where was I going with that? Which was the whole
government mandates. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with wanting to recycle more, with wanting to make the most of what you have, with using alternative energy, with any of that. Right. When you tell people, when you out and out straight up fucking lie that if we don't do this in 10 years, New York will be under 8 feet of water and everyone will die, when it's demonstrably false.
Right.
It's that time frame has come and gone, 3 times now? At which point it'll be irreparable damage and inconvenient truth. And how long ago was that? 15 fucking years.
Right.
The polar bears will all be dead. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah.
Don't lie to us. Don't bullshit that. Don't tell us lies that are just demonstrably, provably false and easily so. Because I guarantee you we're going to be like, well, then I'm not doing anything. I'm going to set fire to my plastic rather than recycle it. And it becomes counterproductive. And then it becomes, and this, I think this is what they want. They want to divide us into, we recycle, we don't. The other team hates the environment. And, well, the other team is a bunch of tree-hugging loons.
Yeah.
Instead of looking for actual solutions that will actually do something good. And,
you can't have that.
Right. And just
unacceptable.
We're seeing that with the battery-powered cars. It's becoming a political thing. Only those tree-hugging, effeminate Democrats drive electric cars. And, you still drive a gasoline car. You must have voted for Trump. And why does it have to be one or the other?
Because it's political, and everything that's political turns out that way.
It's got to be tribal
instead of being left to the market.
But it's
people to decide.
It's interesting that we're being told that it's not enough to be racist. You have to be anti-racist. But we're going to divide you on literally everything else, and that's okay. But what are we going to do? We're just we're getting all of our Motorhead stuff out.
I know.
So I made the mistake of because I watched Top Gear, and because they had Porsches, I started going through Facebook Marketplace looking at old, not even old Porsches, but 15-year-old, and I'm just like, and I keep having to remind myself that I owned a, what was it when I bought it? It was 14 years old, a 14-year-old Cadillac, and it was literally every other week something was going wrong. And that's just a Cadillac. That's not even a Porsche that needs special mechanics and parts flown in from Germany. And I keep looking at it. I'm like, wow, I can get a Boxster for only $20,000. Damn. That's a little 2-seater convertible. That's a neat little guy. I'm like, we'll just set fire to a pile of money. Yeah.
My Jeep's 14 years old, and it's okay.
It's a Jeep, though. I mean, it's funny you mentioned the Jeep, because I'm a dork, and I love cars, and I have a bunch of 118 scale cars. That's my thing. They're all about, roughly, they're not Matchbox cars. Matchbox cars are like 1/64th scale, I believe.
Yep.
But so they're bigger. You can like pick it up and look at it. And I have a Jeep. My dad had a Jeep back in the early 2000s, and I picked one up, and it looked like the one he had. And I was looking at it, and I was like, what year is that? Because I'm sure someone who is like a Jeep fanatic could pinpoint it and be like, well, it's different from a current Jeep because this, and this.
Right.
And you look at the basic shape, and you're like, it looks just the same as a new one. 2001, which is indistinguishable from 1997, which is when that's the year that they
the
switched.
Wrangler.
Yeah, they switched back to the round headlights.
Right.
They had the square headlights from 87 when Chrysler bought them. 86 is the last year of the old CJs. 87 Chrysler had them, and in 96.
I think you're off a decade.
I'm pretty sure.
Maybe.
86 was when AMC sold Jeep to Chrysler.
Right, but they still made the CJs.
Oh, I may be wrong on the model.
Yeah.
The model name. I the first to admit that. Yeah. I just know. I know it was 97 because my sister had a 93 Wrangler with the squares, and it was just a few years later they went back to the round headlights.
Right.
And but your 97 Jeep and a 2022 Jeep.
Yeah, they look kind of the same.
Are not a lot different.
Right.
And that the motors aren't much different. I don't know that they've changed I mean, I'm sure they're slightly different, but they haven't changed much because people don't buy Jeeps for engineering.
Well, we could really go down a rabbit hole on this one. They started people drive Jeeps for a very specific things. And Jeep has prided itself on maintaining roughly the same body style since the beginning. It's gotten bigger and heavier.
Yeah.
But it's still recognizably the same thing.
Right. You look at a 1953 Corvette and a 2020 Corvette.
Don't look anything
alike. They're absolutely nothing. I mean, the badge, I think, is the only thing the same. You look at
maybe not even that, but
yeah. You look at a 1941 Jeep and put it right next to a 2021 Jeep.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, the same lineage, and
yep.
And I completely forgot where I was going with that, which is the awesome part. Yay, senility. But other than the absolutely insane pricing people get for Jeeps, but that's
because they hold their value well.
They're I'm looking at some of the going through the used things, and it's like 1990 Wrangler, 160,000 miles, $10,000.
A CJ that's not a rust bucket is worth more than it sold new now.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's an antique. I mean,
even a 10-year-old Jeep is still worth a lot of money.
Most of what it sold for, and like pickup.
I bought my Jeep in 2019, 2018, whatever. It was a 2007. It is a 2007 still.
It hasn't changed.
And I got it for $15,000, and that was a good deal.
Right.
That was a great price, and it was in really good shape. But that was, not a whole lot cheaper than it was new. I mean,
not cheaper than it was new. One of the ads that popped up in my feed was a 96 F-250. They want $33,000.
Yeah.
That's more than it went for new.
Yeah, but you know what's funny is is you look at trucks, the payload capacity on trucks has changed so much in the last decade that, and I went through, cause I was thinking about getting a new truck to like tow a car trailer and stuff like that. And I thought, oh, well, I'll just get like an old used F-350 or something like that.
Yeah.
A F-350 that was cheap enough that I would consider buying it. The towing capacity of that F-350 was less than my current F-150 that I have.
Huh.
So yeah, the payload capacity on trucks has gone up like crazy. You've got F-150s now that have payloads that are almost a ton.
Wow.
And can pull 17,000 pounds.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I'm looking at my next, it's going to be a few years, but I want a Tacoma.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy with my RAV4. I miss having a pickup. They're very useful. And another thing that I've been thinking about is getting another camper, getting another RV. And one of we started out, my wife and I had a pop-up. You crank up, the roof goes up, and you put the sides on. It's a huge pain in the ass, especially with kids. So we got the big travel trailer that I bought the big Dodge pickup for.
Mm-hmm.
The Dodge, 2007 Dodge, with the 5.7 liter Hemi, and the towing capacity was, I think, about 8,000 pounds, like 8 something.
Right.
I started looking at some of the the smaller. They actually have there's several brands that make hard-sided pop-ups. So that's what we were kind of looking at. So it's easier to put up than the regular crank, but it's smaller. Tacoma with the standard 3.5 liter V6, 4,400 pound tow capacity. It's like way more than
that's without any special tow package.
Exactly.
That's just
the
stock
by
truck.
Itself.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, it's got a little more than half, and it's just a 6-cylinder.
Add on a tow package.
Yep.
And you're up to 8,000 pounds.
Yeah. So it was, that's interesting. That's interesting as hell.
Yeah.
But it does make you curious then why, if it had gone the other way, if the old trucks could tow more, then I could see why a 1996 F-250 would command 32 grand. But I'm like, I suppose I didn't look into it. It's
probably because it's a collector's item. It's in really good shape.
Right. It's got low miles, all original, and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Still, I'm like, man, don't lead with that, because people are like, what the hell? It's 20. It's an antique.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just a plain F-150. It's not like it was a.
It's funny. It's funny because they, the F-150s, is classified as a half-ton pickup, right? And the F-250 was always like a 3/4 ton pickup.
Right.
But every F-150 made has a 3/4 ton capacity right now. So
so the dirty secret is you don't need the F-350 unless
it's but again, it's engineering. It's what you're going to do, right?
Yeah.
If it's commercial, if you're going to be towing trailers and hauling shit all week long, get the F-250, get the F-350, because it's stouter.
Yep.
If you're pulling a trailer, if you're pulling a boat to the lake on a weekend, or you're pulling a trailer out to camp a couple of times a year, get the F-150 is all you need.
You don't need the 250 yet.
Right. So, it just depends.
All right.
Yep. It's time.
We're
almost
like
an hour and a half
over, and I just got the reminder, if you know what I mean.
Whoops.
That's like,
time to go.
Guess what? It's time.
All right.
You got a little extra show and a bunch of rants and some car talk, and
we warned you to.
That's right. We did
hang up at the beginning.
Told you.
So that's right.
We told you, and
you have nobody to blame but yourself.
We got it out of our system, so the next time we don't bore poor Brita to tears.
That's right. And Jay won't be here next week, and
we'll have a special guest host.
We may or may not have a guest host. We'll see.
May just say forget it. So
yeah, we'll see.
But I'll be back.
You never know what you're going to get.
That's right.
We'll be back someday.
That's right. And follow us on Locals.
That's right.
Damn it.
Bye.
Night, y'all.
I got to end this thing.